Good morning. Everybody hear me okay?
I hear you, Matt.
Perfect. I didn't see
Loud and
anybody.
clear.
Perfect.
I hear
Welcome
you.
in another Friday safety focus of the week, October the 10th. As we work through the quickly changing times. It's dark now and gonna stay dark a little bit longer. But let's get started. So our safety count 35 from our last reportable, 3 days from our last first aid, and 0 from a vehicle. So we kind of had a rough week on the incident front this week with a first aid and an auto yesterday. Impulsive behaviors is a leading indicator. So we need to try to slow down a little bit, think before we do out there, and remember to try to bake in some safety in your decision making. Try to think about, if I do this unsafe act, what are my consequences going to be? It's hard to do in the moment, but if we can be disciplined, it can hopefully reduce some of these incidents that we're having. Again, historically, this October, November, these are our worst months. So we really need to not let the work drive us. We need to drive the work. So let's try to work together, and we'll see some good photos of that today, of us working together to solve some problems. Quick little safety meeting because we have a lot to discuss, kind of more on the ESOP side today. I think Aaron will be joining us in a little bit. So I wanted to kind of highlight, we had an uptick the last month on utility strikes. So I want everybody today, and hopefully moving forward, especially all the operators out there, ask the question, what utilities are we working around today? Especially on some of these projects like Two-Way Parkway, where we've been in and out of these projects, or been on these projects for well over a calendar year, or just about a calendar year. Easy to get kind of complacent of, like, oh, that utility or that gas line is abandoned, or we assume the depths of these things. Or it's easy for us to not really do a thorough job of maintaining our marks. So again, once these marks established, the law is written that we must maintain them. If we do not maintain marks and we hit something, we are going to be at fault. So try to take photos, establish those offsets in those field books, or utilize those GPS equipment, so we can always go back and verify location and depth if we get that done ahead of time. So it's our responsibility to maintain those marks. Let's remember that. And it's our responsibility to never assume depths by visually hand digging to get depths, and then so we can eliminate the chance for utility strike moving forward. So especially with a pressurized gas line, we must get verification of depth and location before we can operate our heavy equipment inside that tolerance zone. And again, that's an 18-inch tolerance zone, so it's a good 1.5 feet. So we can't assume depths. We need to take the time and shovel to find these utilities before we cross them, or dig within them inside that 18-inch tolerance zone. So that is a law we have to follow. We cannot get complacent with that. We need to make sure that we are hand digging around any known utilities that have been marked previous. It's a quick and dirty one for me, but let's try to remember those best practices today and moving forward throughout the calendar year. Anything to add, Mr. Ben Dow?
Yeah. I remember when I came here that we had these operators, the older operators would actually get off the machine. I used to be pushing, let's go, let's dig. And this guy, Lester Derry, he was pretty big. You'll see the 690 later. He used to run the 690, and he'd say, Mr. Ben, I'm going to get off this machine and we're going to talk about what's in the ground before I dig. And he would stand there and smoke a whole cigarette all the way to the end. And we'd talk about what was there. And he'd ask me, like, where's that? There's a meter on that building. Where's the conduit go? Do you know? And I know we have great tailboards. The tailboards are good, but actually having the conversation and thinking about what's in the ground before you do it keeps us out of trouble, and it keeps people from getting hurt, especially with the power and the gas. We can really get hurt by those. So I know what it's like on the other end to try to get production, and this is the time of year where we're trying to get things done.
Yep.
So take a breath. I don't want you all to start smoking cigarettes to talk about the utilities, but at least take that minute to look. Matt, that was a quick one.
We said
Let
it
me
was going to be
see.
quick today.
Okay. All right. I'm going to get started and then I'll switch over to, I just want to make sure Aaron, are you here?
Just she is.
Okay. I'll just
Good
get
morning,
started.
Ben.
I'll get started. Are you going to end up sharing your PowerPoint or do you want me to share it? Because I opened it.
I would be happy to share it. I have it all pulled up and
Okay.
ready to go.
Right.
Thank you for checking.
Yeah. Let me just do my, get us started. Code of conduct item this week is to speak and act supportively of ECI as a company and our workers. It doesn't mean that we can't say non-supportive things, but we do it behind the closed doors and in the right forum. I don't want everyone to just think that we only can say good things about each other, but we want to say good things about each other in public and in private. We got to do what we got to do, and we got to say what we have to say. But it's distracting to everyone else, and it presents a negative atmosphere when we're complaining about all this stuff to the wrong people without a solution. So the next thing I have here is the ESOP statements. They came out. They've been mailed. You should have them. Aaron is going to give us, Aaron's contact information is here. One thing I'll say with Aaron before you go on is that we can be totally, we want to be totally transparent with the way the ESOP allocate the shares were allocated, and we can. It's easier to do that in private because it involves your personal income amount. Last year when we start talking about the calculations, so that's best done in private. And Erin has all the information, and she's the best person to contact, and she can go through that whole the whole process of how your share allocation was calculated for 2024. The other thing to remember is that the shares that were allocated for 24 were as of 12/31/24. So you'll see a value on your statement, and that's as of 12/31/24 when we barely just got started with the ESOP. So we're almost a year into the ESOP. And when we get to December, there's a whole other year we've been working on building the value. So that was the other thing I wanted to say before I stop and let Aaron share. So Aaron, I'm going to stop and let you do your presentation.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mr. Dow. That definitely helps kind of start the topic off. All right, so everyone bear with me for just 2 seconds. I'm going to try to get this into presentation mode. Hopefully everyone will be able to see my slides very nicely.
There we go.
Fabulous. Alrighty. So as Mr. Dow kind of just announced, our intention for this morning our intention for this morning is really to keep it nice and simple about specifically reading our statement of accounts, kind of setting an intention here. The goal is really just to have a focused discussion on this rather than really getting into too much detail about some of our more technical terminology, the jargon that we kind of talked about during our initial information sessions. I'm going to speak at the end just a little bit about some of our next steps and how we can continue that big educational outreach push. But again, our focus today is really just going to be on looking at our statement and seeing how they were really calculated, so everyone has a good idea of how to interpret the packet that they hopefully have gotten in the mail. So speaking of, what was in that packet? So in addition to kind of like a little cover letter that was personalized to just say kind of this is what's been going on, an introduction to what you're going to be looking at. On the back of that page, you should have this kind of standardized sample that we drew up that really just gives in these little boxes with the arrows a bit of a definition for some of the major fields that you're going to actually see data entered into. We're going to break this statement down a little bit more today in order to give everybody some clarity just on what those individual amounts that are listed out here really equate to with the plan. And then we'll kind of go from there into talking about what our next steps look like. So let's talk ESOP, one of my favorite topics for sure. So definitely, I want to stress this a couple of times throughout this morning. I am very happy to talk offline with anyone. If you are thinking that you want to sit down and go over your statement with me one-on-one, very happy to do so. If you have any of the questions about the information that's contained in our summary plan description, which should have been included in your packet, definitely give me a shout. I'm very happy to talk about the jargon or any of the kind of nuances of the plan because we do recognize this is the first time we're getting these statements, and it's going to be a little bit new for everybody. So in our ESOP, aka the Employee Stock Ownership Plan, we have a little over 320,000 shares. That is a number that was defined as part of the actual creation of the plan based off of some very, very smart people doing some actuarial analysis as part of our valuation of the company back when we originally made the sale of the company to ourselves as employee owners. That means that when we take that 321,000 shares in our company and divide it up over the 30-year life cycle of our ESOP, which is a number that was set in order to really have the ability to reflect the life cycle of employees as well. So hopefully in around 30 years with obviously some exceptions, such as Mr. Dow, we're mostly seeing a typical life cycle of an employee of being hired, going through, and then retiring. And then, of course, recognizing our very special folks like Mr. Dow, who have been here longer than that. When we look at that 1/30th, we have a little over 10,000 shares per year. So we're going to be kind of focusing in on that 3.03% for 2024 of 10,714 shares. So how is your allocation calculated? And that's the part that's kind of most important that we want to get into here. 2024 plan year and 2025 plan year, aka the statement we just received and the one we'll be receiving next year in 2026, operated off of our point system. This is laid out in that summary plan description, but essentially the metric is you receive 1 point for every $1,000 you have in gross eligible compensation. When I say eligible, I mean any compensation, including like your overtime, your per diems, any of that compensation, except for your annual bonus if you were somebody who received one back in 2024. You also will be getting 20 points for every year of employment, which is not the same thing as our years of service. It is a little confusing in our summary plan description when we do talk about years of employment versus years of service. So definitely reach out if you have any questions about the distinguishing reasons between those two things. Years of employment, or WOE, as it's pretty frequently abbreviated in the document, refers to all full, uninterrupted years of employment with ECI where you conducted at least 1 hour service, whether that's regular time, ATO, so on. The reason we did it this way, the point system, is because we wanted to recognize the contributions of those who actually really brought ECI into a place in which we could become employee-owned. So it was a built-in measure into the plan to really recognize their service and their achievement. And the 2024-2025 plan years are really just designed to be able to give them that extra kind of ownership in the plan starting out. So how did we actually calculate it? We talked about points. Once we get to an idea of what your points are based off of the two factors of your years of employment and your gross compensation, we also calculated the points for all of our plan participants. That then gave us a weighted percentage of your points over that total. When we multiply that weighted percentage by the total shares for plan year 2024, aka that 10,714, we get our number of shares allocated. So on your statement, I'm going to show in a moment where you can actually find those different fields, but it will give you a sense of, okay, here's how my total number of shares were allocated to me. When we multiply that number of shares that you received by our market value, which is a number that is set in stone every year as part of our annual valuation that is done by our outside auditors, or our outside valuation team, they are then able to give us an idea of what the total value of your plan account is. When I say set in stone, I mean that the value is the value at the time, 12/31 of 2024. However, obviously we recognize that we're about to be at the end of 2025. So we're going to have a new market value per share, which we expect to just be continuing to increase over time, both as we continue to grow as a company and as we continue to pay off our 2 notes that are the basically the means by which we purchased the company. As we continue to both pay down those notes as well as grow as a company, we expect the market value per share to increase. Your number of shares will also proportionally increase as we move through plan years and new shares are allocated to you. So I always find that it is a little easier for me to kind of interpret these kinds of things if I just have like an actual tangible example I can look at. So I kind of drew up a little example for everybody just to quickly go over here as an explanation. So say I, as Joe Schmo, am somebody who has 10 years of employment. I've been with ECI since 2014. I have a gross compensation of $60,000. So all 10 of those YOE are going to be multiplied by 20 points to give me 200 points based off of our point system that we talked about a moment ago. And for every $1,000 of that $60,000, I get a point. So that gives me 60 points, giving me a grand total of points of 260. We know that our total points for all participants in 2024 was a little over 37,000, which gives me, with my 260 points, my weighted percentage of 0.00695. When I then multiply that weighted percentage by the total shares, which again, we looked at a moment ago, 10,714, I would be allocated as Joe Schmo 74.47 shares. We also know our market value per share of $18.38, giving me about $1,400 as a total value in my plan account as of the end of the year. So again, not necessarily going to be that same number as we look forward to the end of the year here, but based off of my statement, that's going to be the value that I see on there. Looking at my actual statement, here's a little kind of blurb of the same showing I did a moment ago. The values I have highlighted here are really going to be our best kind of things to draw our eyes to. So that's going to be our ending balance, particularly on the far right of our stock account in shares, the market value per share, which is going to be the same on everyone's statement of 18.38. That multiplied by my stock account in shares is going to give me my total value. And then I also wanted to just briefly address vested percentage. I've gotten a couple of questions about that so far, which is an excellent question. Definitely, this is a topic that we are hoping to get into more as we kind of continue to cater these learning opportunities for everybody to really feel like they familiarize themselves with ESOP. And basically, in plan year 2024, this is defined by my years of service, which is only my years of participation in the plan. So with a few exceptions for people who are over the age of 62 and meet the retirement age of the plan, or a few other exceptions like permanent disability, pretty much everybody is going to be at 0% for this year. I just wanted to go ahead and call that to attention because I have gotten a few questions. All of the vesting schedule for the plan is listed out on page 8 of your SPD. Highly recommend taking a look there, and I'm very happy to speak more if you would like to discuss as well. All right, and then just again to really kind of key in on where to find this information, total value of your plan account is that bottom line above vested percentage, but drawing attention to, with our calculation, number of shares allocated, that's that top line I have highlighted. Our market value per share is the top of that second stack. And then the total value of your plan account listed at the bottom before getting into vested percentage and annuity and all of that. So a very brief little conversation here. Definitely, if you want to sit down in order to calculate your points, reach out to me. I'm going to include my contact information at the end here, and I'm also open for any questions that might come up. But if you'd like to reach out to me offline, as Mr. Dow said a moment ago, there is some sensitivity with things like your compensation and years of service. So I definitely want to do that in a one-on-one format with you if that's something you'd be interested in learning more about. We also are definitely wanting to start the ball rolling here on getting some more training opportunities out. So I've been jokingly referring to the information sessions we held in the spring as like 101. So I'm getting ready to start up 201 for ESOP training. If you have any topics for discussion, especially as you kind of look at your summary, go through the SPD, please let me know. I really would love some feedback, any ideas that people really want me to hone in on. The goal is, instead of kind of a overall summary of the plan like we did in 101, to do a more focused deep dive on some of the more confusing or important topics and kind of cater it to people who are interested. Also, as mentioned, we are hoping to get the ESOP committee started in the very near future. So more to come there. Definitely want to kind of raise a little bit of interest in people. If there is something that you would like to chat about, please, again, let me know. And I will include here my contact info and open it up for any questions.
Okay. So I had a couple comments, Aaron.
Oh, absolutely.
As of 12/31 of 2025, this year, anyone that's younger than 62 will jump overnight from 0% to 20% vested. So
Absolutely.
that means that as of right now, any of us that are under 62 are 0% vested, but one of the benefits of starting the plan in 2024 was we've got a full year, even though we only own the company for 2 months. We had a full year of vesting in 24 and 25 is the second. So now 20% vesting means that we, after that date, no matter what happens, we're still entitled to that 20% of whatever our value of the stock is, no matter what happens after 12/31. Any of
Absolutely.
us before that point, we're not entitled to anything, zero. So that's just an important thing to know, right?
Yes, the difference between years of employment and years of service has confused a couple of people.
Yeah.
The plan document does give definitions for both of those, but the similarity of the terms is not ideal. So definitely happy to speak more offline if anyone has questions about those.
So right now, if we left, we would forfeit the entire value. But if we're right after overnight on 12/31, we're going to be 20%, and then it goes pretty quick after that for the next 5 years, 4 years.
It is a 6-year life cycle.
6 year total, but we'll already have 2 under our belt, right? So 4 more.
Exactly.
Yep, I think that was the only thing I had. Yep. And also the value is as of 12/31/24. So it'll be cool after to see what happens to the value of our stock next year after this year.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions or comments anyone has?
I just have one generic question, I guess. Is this something that we're gonna see? Like, is it a yearly thing that we see, or is it quarterly? Is it
Great
biannually?
question. That's an excellent question, Matt. This is on a yearly basis. We only have allocation done each year as part of our kind of like end of year wrap up. I spend quite a lot of time in the late winter going through getting all of the data accumulated. And then it's an ongoing process as we do things like profit sharing in order to finalize. So unlike our accounts for a census that have kind of like the blow by blow of the market going through in your 401k, this is done just on a yearly basis, not as live, not as entertaining to watch and like kind of watch through the market flow. But we are hoping to have the online portal system up and running in the near future for everyone to be able to like look at their statements kind of through that platform as well, instead of just on a physical copy. So more to come there. Thanks for asking that.
Good question.
Is it gonna be always like this time, like October,
No.
November, or yeah?
The goal is it's going to be earlier. We had a few challenges, especially just because of the fact that this is the first year. So there was a little bit of a learning curve between ourselves, our TPA Blue Ridge, and a few other kind of like parties that were involved in the process of getting it going. So we are hoping it will be more seamless in future years, and we'll be looking more at our kind of end of summer timeline that we originally really were expecting.
Yep. Yeah. Every year when the year completes, which we're going to be done with our fiscal year at the end of this month. And then every year we have to do a complete evaluation of the company, because that is what determines the share value. So that's only
Exactly.
done once a year.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, now we're going to move. Let's see. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you. Again, anyone, please feel free to reach out to me. Love talking about this with everybody.
Okay. So this week you can read it. I'll just tell you the topic of this week is to be aligned. Being aligned is not always agreement, but it's being committed to the plan to get things done. And it doesn't make us any money when we're arguing about how to do something and we're not moving forward. So you can read the topic of this week in the email. I probably was too wordy in that one. I left my announcement from last week in here, just about the fact that I wanted to make sure everybody was recognized for all their hard work this season and all the extra effort and flexibility that everyone's put in with all the nights and weekends and long hours. And we're on the final stretch of our fiscal year, which is actually at the end of this month. So good job, everybody. Keep it up. We did have the ECI Railroad Golf Tournament that a bunch of our people attended, and they won, which is cool. I got some pictures in here of the team that you can scroll through. Please revisit the email. Oh, yeah, there they are. Thanks for donating the funds to the Mike Lawyer Foundation too. That was a good gesture.
Hey, Ben, can I get just 30 seconds to say thank you as well? So
You can.
all right, I'll talk fast. So anyway, thanks very much. When those things happen, it's really pretty special, especially at those levels when everybody kind of just did it out of their heart. We've had a lot of corporate donations throughout the years. We've done a lot of really, really good things for our communities, and this allows us to do that. So not only here, but the ECI employees have just been generous supporters of us for forever. So thanks very much. I guess thank you all for all you do. It's become a full-time job in a lot of ways, but we're doing a lot of good things with it. So thanks for the minute.
Thanks for chiming in, Tom. Family Fun Day is tomorrow, 1 to 3. Whoever's registered, we'll hopefully see you there. With kids and grandkids. Any questions, please reach out to Elena. Her number's right here. So I'll be up there. Hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow. The weather's going to be good. Photos of the week. The first photo is a good one. It's related to what Matt was talking about. There's a 3-man team with shovels, and they're hand digging to locate an underground gas line that runs transverse to the ditch there.
Yep.
Just got a bunch of pictures this week. This is up on 2A. Guys are getting ready to pave another stretch, busy road. When we were up there, it's hard. The big trucks come around that corner and they had to move a bunch of cones and squeeze them through, but nice day for paving up there. All the grout mixer.
Yeah,
These are all pictures from this week.
I threw that one in because it wasn't things weren't going so great, but just when things don't go so great, everyone's jumping in trying to solve the problem. So it's a good team effort trying to why is this thing plugged? And they're all into it, so that's why I put this one here. Just
That's a good one.
show the teamwork, it's not just
Yep.
one person trying to solve the problem, it's 3 people.
And then somebody capturing the moment like you.
Yeah. Ricky was next to me.
Yep. Oh, the bike path.
Mr. Bike Path. Yeah.
Man, that is a fancy bike path. I'll have to get a bike now. bike path over by the airport. What do we got here? What's the next one, Matt?
This
Oh.
is Larkin Holiday Inn.
Yep. Oh,
Randy Dow.
yeah. Good looking concrete.
It's down at White River Junction, the train station.
It's a good
There's a-
photo.
Yeah, Montpelier paving. These are some of Tom's site visits this week. A lot of good pre-planning going on. A lot of everyone staying focused on the task, which was great. Just down at Cabot Culvert.
It's a big
The ground
culvert.
line set up. Yep.
Yeah.
Some grout. Did some night work this week, Monday and Tuesday. Doing that bridge, I-89 northbound, just north of the exit 11, off
Yeah.
ramp, on ramp on the northbound side. So,
Yeah.
and then there's
The
a
ramp,
lot of,
ramp was
yeah, a
closed.
lot of traffic, control, a lot of pre-planning on the traffic pattern and making it all work and logistics. So good work to Sean and everybody else that helped out on that site. Went pretty smooth. And then this was last Friday. I went down to Chester. And I thought this was a pretty cool photo. It was everybody, all hands on deck for hand mixing grout. Even the surveyors are in there.
That grout would get hard in like 20 minutes. So it was literally all hands on deck.
Yeah, you guys did like almost 2 pallets of grout in like 25 minutes. So it was pretty impressive. Everybody had their mission and knew exactly what was going on. Ken Allard and was up top, kind of just verifying if, making sure, and St. Ben McKinney was there too, just making sure the grout was going where it was supposed to, double checking, triple checking. It was pretty impressive. Yeah, just down at the Parkway, just a lot of handwork, but you can see everybody working together as a team. I thought it's a great photo.
The new tractor's in service. The new used tractor. Nice paint job by the shop. I stuck this one in here because I was excited to see it out there on the line already. So Mr. Ashton's got his new ride. I think it took like 5 or 6 feet off the length of his unit, not having to worry about that extra wheel. So you'll see it out there. It looks good. It's running ECI blue colors. And the shop, ECI paint shop prepared it. Just happening around the yard. Robert putting that 4th axle on the truck. It's pretty long looking rig once he does that, but it's just kind of cool. I didn't know if everyone knew that those low beds, that 55 tonner has an additional axle that gets pinned onto the back. There's 4 pins and then a bunch of connections with airlines and electrical. So that was cool. We've got equipment refurbishing happening. We got this guy here, he paints by hand, which is kind of cool. But Chico's refurbishing this trailer, and those bright red fenders hopefully will help everyone to see them so that we don't bang them and bend them up. Good job on putting that trailer together. I think we're going to get it probably 1 more year of service out of that one and before we trade it in. And here's Picasso. He had this skid steer totally stripped down. I tried to find my picture of it, totally stripped of paint. And Steven's got this thing. It looks beautiful. And the paint is, he's got a little bit more black paint that's got to go on in a few spots and some final coats. But what a good looking machine. It's right over here in 99. Awesome job. From the archives. I think this is I'm not sure if this is the IBM location or not, but there's a couple things notable in this photo. This is early 80s, probably 82 or 83. That machine right there on the right is the JD690. That's the machine that I learned to run excavator on. if you try to turn it, the tracks would come off. You'd have to put them back on with come-alongs and bars. And I was taught how to do that by Larry Raymond and Mark Nash. But as you noticed, that machine that I learned on had, and Roger Atkins ran that a lot too, but that baby has the operator station. It's actually on the right-hand side of the machine, which is kind of cool. It's on the starboard side of the machine. So when you learn to run excavator and that, and then all of a sudden you get in on these new fangled excavators that we have now, the operator's position's on the other side of the boom from the old ones. I didn't know if anyone knew that, but the old excavators, a lot of them had the operator position on the starboard side. So that's putting the pipe onto these rollers. And we had the roll. If you look underneath that pipe, you'll see a roller cart. We had those for years. They were upstairs. Alan Pigeon wanted us to use them for everything. Somebody threw them away in the 90s, and Alan was very upset that we didn't have those roller carts, but they lower the pipe onto the roller cart, and then they'd wheel it in by hand underneath the bridge. That's an insulated stainless steel pipe that's under that bridge over there. So that's pretty cool. That's a few years ago. The only one still working that was here at that time is Roger Atkins. And actually, Roger's working today. So pretty cool. All right, I'll turn it back over to you, Matt.
Yeah, if you're watching the group setting, please send that over so we can capture this morning's attendance accurately. Let's drive safe. Let's work safe. Let's work together. Let's have a great day, guys. Gals.
Yep. And thanks for your extra time, everybody. We ran a little over today. So have a good day. Be safe.
Okay.